Okay, let's unpack this because it's pretty surprising. Imagine you're gearing up for one of those high-stakes English tests, right?
Hmm.
Specifically, the speaking part of the PTE, the Pearson Test of English. And you get an image thrown at you, maybe a graph, could be a diagram, I don't know, a map.
Right, yeah, the describe image task.
Exactly, and you've got to describe it. Now, what's your first thought, for getting top marks, perfect accuracy, some deep, insightful
That's
analysis?
what you'd normally assume, definitely.
Well, our source for this deep dive, it's called PTE Speaking, Image Description Strategy, suggests something radically different. And honestly, it kind of blew my mind.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how these tests, especially this describe image task, are designed.
Hmm.
They prioritize certain things, and this source really pulls back the curtain.
Yeah.
It shows what that underlying algorithm is actually listening for. And like you said, it's often not what you intuitively expect from a test that's supposed to measure, understanding.
Mm.
So our mission today is basically to break down this, frankly, surprising approach,
Hmm.
figure out why it works so well for the automated scoring, and importantly, what that tells us about how these AI systems are evaluating language.
Okay, so just to set the scene, we're talking about the PTE Describe Image task. It's one of, what, 5 timed bits in the speaking section?
That's right, several time sections. And for this one, you get maybe 30 seconds or so to look at the image.
Quick glance.
Yeah, pretty quick. And then you have to speak for about 30, maybe 31 seconds. And crucially, you can't save time. Finishing early doesn't help you later.
Got it. No banking time.
Nope. So this deep dive, it's going to lay out this very specific, almost counterintuitive strategy that the source claims consistently leads to high scores.
Okay.
And it really reveals how fluency is being measured here.
Hmm.
The source actually emphasizes, look, the trick to describing any image is using this consistent 5-sentence procedure.
Every time.
A 5-sentence procedure, like a template. Exactly, a template.
Yeah.
It's structured not just to, answer the question, but to specifically build and demonstrate your fluency as you practice it.
Huh. That seems almost too rigid for describing something visual and potentially complex. Intriguing, though. Okay, walk us through it. What's step one?
Step one is the introduction. Nice and clear.
Yeah.
You state what kind of graph it is, line graph, bar chart, pie chart, whatever.
Okay.
And then you just read its title, word for word.
Mm.
If there's an x-axis mentioned, you mention that too. So something like, this line graph denotes wheat exports from 3 regions of the world from 1985 to 1990.
Simple enough. State the obvious, basically. What's next? The main description.
Right. After the intro, you get into the body. And here's where a subtle point from the source comes in. Fluency is king, absolutely.
Right, you mentioned that.
But the algorithm apparently also looks for a certain number of keywords, coded in somehow.
Ah, okay.
So while you're keeping that smooth flow going, it's actually smart, or wise, as the source puts it, to weave in terms from the title or labels on the image.
Makes sense. So step two.
Step 2. Describe a key feature using a superlative. Words like highest, most, greatest. Find the peak or the maximum something.
Hit the high point. Got it. And step three, the opposite.
You got it. Step 3. Describe another key feature, but use a superlative for the other end, lowest, least, worst. Find the minimum.
Okay, high, low. Covering the extremes. What's the 4th sentence for?
Step 4 is for describing another key feature, maybe something in the middle or something about an average, or perhaps how something fluctuates or changes. Shows a bit more dimension.
Right, adding a bit more detail beyond just the peaks and valleys. And finally, step 5.
Step 5 is your conclusion. And again, it's specific. Use a concluding phrase like, in conclusion, and then predict something based on the trend.
Predict.
So the source gives a straightforward example like, in conclusion, it can be expected that whatever the topic is will continue to rise in the future or in the next year. Something simple like that.
Okay, let's loop back to that wheat example. So after this line graph denotes wheat exports from 3 regions of the world from 1985 to 1990, you'd say.
You'd follow the template. Step 2. By 1990, the highest exporter of wheat was the European community.
Okay.
Step 3. The lowest exporter of wheat was Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Step 4. The average exporter of wheat was Canada. Or maybe something about its trend if it was less stable.
Right.
And step 5, the conclusion. In conclusion, it can be expected that Australia will continue to have the lowest output of wheat in the future.
Wow. That is incredibly structured, almost formulaic.
It is.
But like you said, it sounds almost too simple for a high-stakes test. Does the source explain why this apparently works so well?
It does, yeah, and this is really the core insight. The source is emphatic,
Yeah.
The algorithm is primarily tuned for fluency, fluency, fluency. That's literally quoted.
Fluency, fluency, fluency.
And it's likely not just, a random choice. It probably reflects Pearson's need for scalable, reliable, automated scoring.
Easier for a machine to measure flow than meaning.
Arguably, yes. Measuring a consistent, even speech flow is probably easier and more consistent for an AI than trying to evaluate like deep semantic accuracy or comprehension across tons of different topics and image types.
So the strategy works because you're just feeding the machine what it's designed to measure best.
Pretty much. The algorithm wants continuous, even tempo speech, no hesitations, just natural brief pauses at sentence ends for that whole 30-odd seconds. If you deliver that,
Perfect score.
the source suggests you're likely to hit 90. Yeah, a perfect score.
So it's much less about having some brilliant insight into the graph
Much less.
and more about disciplined, continuous, smooth talking, almost like performing a practiced monologue.
That's a good way to put it.
But what about pronunciation? Does that just get ignored in this fluency fest?
No, pronunciation does still matter. But the source's argument is that by using this same five-sentence structure over and over,
Repetition helps.
exactly, your pronunciation naturally improves through that repetitive practice. It's framed as the easiest way to pass this specific part of the test with a high score, like well over 79 usually.
Interesting.
The source even touches on that classic debate in language learning, fluency versus coherence or comprehension,
Right. You can speak fast but make no sense.
or speak super slowly and clearly, but lose the flow and bore the listener.
Yeah.
But Pearson, the test maker, apparently made a very clear call for tasks like retail lecture and this describe image one. The source says they decided these are all about fluency.
Wow. All about fluency. And the source is proof. You mentioned an anecdote.
Oh, it's a killer anecdote. Really drive the point home. The author, apparently just to test this whole theory,
Yeah.
once said during the actual describe image task, keeping the tone even, normal pace, the whole routine,
Yeah.
they said, in conclusion, it can be predicted that I will fail this test because I do not know what I'm talking about.
No way.
Yes. And the result,
What happened?
perfect 90 for speaking.
Get out. That is genuinely astounding. Saying you don't know what you're talking about gets you a perfect score.
Astounding, right? It perfectly illustrates the algorithm's focus.
How did they even figure this out? Did the source say?
Yeah, it came from an observation. A client they had was really struggling with note-taking and listening parts, but somehow got a 90 in speaking. Just didn't add up.
Okay.
So the author asked him, how'd you ace retail lecture? And the guy said a friend told him to just remember two things the speaker said and repeat them, like every other sentence.
Huh. Simple but effective, apparently.
Exactly. That bizarre success made the author really dig into how the algorithm must be working, which led to this whole fluency first discovery.
So it hammers home that point. Keep talking, consistent, uninterrupted speech, normal speed, don't hesitate, even if the content feels thin.
Precisely. The source explicitly states, always keep speaking at normal tempo or pace for 30-some seconds without any hesitation, even if you do not know what you're talking about, and you will probably score over 79.
It's just such a powerful example of that singular focus.
And looping back to those keywords we mentioned earlier.
Right. The wise thing to include.
Yeah. The source does stress that while fluency is number one, weaving in words from the title or the graph labels into basically every sentence is still a good idea. Just helps ensure a good score.
Especially for process diagrams where the labels are everything.
Exactly. For those images, the keywords are crucial. But overall, this specific five-step procedure, the source insists, has been proven over and over to get high results.
Okay. So let's bring it back to the listener. What does this all mean for you? We've just walked through a strategy for the PTE describe image task that, honestly, it changes how you might think about these automated language tests.
Totally.
It's really not about deep, profound content, is it? It's about a disciplined, continuous, smooth, even-paced delivery.
And connecting that to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does raise some big questions about how we design and approach automated assessment in general. It's just such a striking example from the source material itself that Pearson consciously decided, okay, retail lecture and describe image, they're going to be all about fluency.
Yeah.
It highlights this really critical emphasis purely on the flow of speech, maybe even over things we normally think of as good communication, like, coherence or really understanding the details.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, that story about scoring 90 for saying I'm going to fail because I don't know what I'm talking about,
Crazy.
it just perfectly underlines the algorithm's very specific priority. The absolute key, like the source keeps saying, is always keep speaking at normal tempo for 30 seconds
Hmm.
without any hesitation. Even if you feel lost, you'll probably still score really well.
And remember, it also mentions those key words coded into the algorithm,
Right.
which suggests, okay, fluency is paramount, but integrating those words from the title or the graph. Still smart? Don't ignore them completely.
But then the source poses its own interesting question, right? What if you get a picture that just has no words, like a photograph or something?
Right. Exactly. That's a really important point it raises. What happens then?
Yeah, what does happen?
Well, the source doesn't give a definitive answer for that specific edge case, but it implies that even then, the algorithm might still lean heavily on the structure. Are you following a logical template, even if you're just describing general shapes or actions?
So the structure and the flow might still carry you.
Possibly.
Mm.
It suggests the system might look for general descriptors, categories people usually use for wordless images, maybe. But mostly it just implies there's always more to learn. These algorithms aren't static, they evolve. We don't know all the nuances.
That's a great point. So maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is this. The next time you face any kind of evaluation, whether it's a formal test or maybe even just giving a presentation,
Hmm.
think about what's really being measured.
Mhm.
Is it always about the depth of your knowledge? Or sometimes maybe is it more about the confidence, the consistency, just the unwavering flow of how you deliver it? What stands out most to you about this whole quite surprising strategy?